Hi there, welcome to Cocktail Mode, the podcast where me, Andy, and my good mate Dave usually pick a single retro game and try and pair it with a cocktail. This week, to mark our 50th episode, we are going to be coming up with our top 50 retro games of all time.
Well, a top 50. It's not necessarily a real top 50.
50 good retro games.
Yeah, that's more like it. The 50 games we like this week.
As we always say, we're not really bothered about like and subscribe and all that sort of nonsense, but please leave us a comment. There'll be some contentious stuff, I'm sure, today, because lists always make people want to swear at you. So please, we're really looking for you to pitch in, send us a comment wherever you're listening to us. We'd really love to hear from you. So just to explain the format, we came up originally with a list of 25 games each, and then there was a bit of crossover. I mean, much less than I thought. And then Dave had the idea of splitting them up into what he would never call generations, but it's basically generations. 5 for arcade, 5 for what Dave has called 8-bit and what I'm calling home computers. And then we got 5 each for the 16 bits, 5 each for the PS1, because at the time, I think neither of us had anything other than the PS1. Neither of us had an N64 or a Saturn or a Jaguar when they were fresh, and I'm not sure, given our respective tastes, any of those games... Well, certainly for me, I've got all those systems now, and none of them beat these top 5 games for the PlayStation 1 anyway. And then the final is the Dreamcast/PC section, 5 each on there as well. I'm looking at a game there. Is that old enough, that bottom one?
Yes, it is. I have checked. I did specifically go through and check. Every game is within our definition of retro.
Which is, if it's on a console, the console has to have been released in the 20th century, and if it's a PC game, the game itself needs to have been released in the 20th century. Without further ado, as we go through each of our categories, we're going to pick a game. There are games in there that we have already done episodes of this podcast on, so we're going to fly through those first of all. We're going to do our arcade section first. So the game that I chose that we've already done an episode on, which amazingly is only one.
2. One of yours, one of mine.
Sorry, yeah, one each. So mine's R-Type. I haven't got a lot more to say about R-Type that I didn't say already in our R-Type episode. Definitely the greatest side-scrolling shoot-'em-up ever made. It's got the best story in the history of video games. Do you remember the story, Dave?
Was it blast off and defeat the evil Bido Empire?
Very close. Blast off and strike the evil.
That's the whole plot.
One of the most iconic bosses of all time. It's R-Type. What more is there to say that we didn't already say in the episode?
Yeah. It is one of the best arcade games of all time, for my money.
I actually fairly recently bought Super R-Type on the SNES, which isn't very highly regarded.
Mm-hmm.
But I played a bit of it when we did that episode on an emulator and really liked it. So I saw a copy at a good price the other day and snapped it up.
Oh, fair enough.
But it's R-Type. Yeah, and I'm exactly with you. I see R-Type and I go, oh, I don't have it on that machine. I'll probably buy it, as long as it's not a ridiculous price.
Yeah.
So that's R-Type. We've already talked about it before. Go back and listen to the episode if you didn't hear it. Dave, what was your arcade game? You've only got one that we've already spoken about before.
So mine was, I think the word we used to describe it during the episode, which was episode 1 of the Cocktail Mode podcast. Ubiquitous is the only word you can use to describe Street Fighter 2. It was everywhere. The game that, by all accounts, almost single-handedly revived the dying arcade industry in the early 90s. Its influence is still felt today.
Yeah.
It's just one of the best games of all time, of which I spent a lot on that game.
I think there are, if any, fewer more important games in the whole history of games. And that's that. That's arcades done.
That's arcades we've already done episodes of.
We will be back to the arcade for 8 more games to talk about. So in the home computer section, let's stick with that. Although there is a game on there that I've noticed isn't really home computer, and that's the one I'm about to talk about, and that's Tetris. Which, it came out on home computers, but it's not known for home computers. It's most people know it as a Game Boy game or a NES game, and that's kind of where it lives, and that's fair. But it's definitely 8-bit. It's definitely in this second era. And again, much like Street Fighter 2, there is nothing new to say about Tetris. We still managed to do an hour's episode on it somehow.
I think we did a pretty good job with that.
But yeah, so Tetris. What more can you say? Nothing. Dave, it turns out, hasn't got anything in this section that we've done an episode on. So I'll let you talk about my other game we have, Dave.
Your other game from the home computer / 8-bit section was UFO XCOM, as it's otherwise known throughout the world, which I still to this day I can't believe you like, because it's exactly the kind of thing that I love.
Yeah.
And I would never have guessed that you would like this game.
No, it's a weird one. As we mentioned on the episode, it goes all the way back to a game called Rebel Star on the Spectrum, and then all the way up till 2010s, I think. Basically, the last official XCOM game came out.
Yeah, XCOM 2.
If you listen back to the episode, you hear all about how me, as a very action arcade instant style game liker, also for some weird reason likes turn-based strategy games, and that's us done for 8-bit games or 8-bit / home computers and slamming into the 16-bit era.
Yeah, so 16-bit era, basically we're saying Mega Drive, SNES, Amiga, ST.
Yes.
Obviously there are others, but they're the ones that we know and the ones that we can actually pick games that we've played.
To be fair, of other 6-bit machines that are out there, most of the best games were on the SNES, the Amiga, the Mega Drive. You're going to cover 99% of the best games that come out at that time with those 3 machines. I don't have any Amiga / PC that sort of games on my list.
Technically, you've got Cannon Fodder on there.
Oh, that's a very good point. And as I said in the episode, definitely better with a mouse than a SNES controller.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, Cannon Fodder was one of mine. Again, we talked at length. That was one of those episodes where it's just Dave and I.
Gushing, I think, is the word.
Gushing is a great word. And we weren't much less gushing for Flashback, which I think was another quite early one, wasn't it? Like 4 or 5?
Yeah, maybe. That was early. Brilliant game. To this day, one of the best games ever made of its type.
I don't know who ever told you, Dave, but I can beat it in 12 and a half minutes.
You've slowed down.
To get that joke, you'll have to listen to the episode. This is ostensibly a list of the 50 what we think are some of the greatest games of all time, and I don't think, for me, Flashback is easily in the top 10 of that. It's been tried to be evolved and changed. There have been sequels, pseudo sequels, games trying to mimic its style. Nothing has ever come close to doing it as well as Flashback did it. That's to its eternal credit. We mentioned it briefly in the Smash TV episode, because it's got that little bit that's a bit like Running Man, the game show bit in it, and I mentioned that is better than the entirety of the Smash TV franchise.
Harsh, but true.
Yeah, Flashback. At some point, I think we'll give it a little while, maybe towards the end of next season, we need to do Prince of Persia, because I think it definitely, as much as they are obviously closely related games, Prince of Persia is good enough to deserve its own space. So we're very likely to do that in the future. You also have got 2 games from this 16-bit era that we've already done episodes for.
Well, technically it's 1.5.
Yes, it's true.
So the big one for me on this list is Desert Strike. Until, 4 months ago? Desert Strike was a very, very important game in my life. I played it endlessly when I first bought it on the Mega Drive. And in the last few months, after interviewing Mike Persane, Desert Strike is more important to me now than it ever has been. It's the icon of the Mega Drive era.
Yeah.
It was designed and programmed for the Mega Drive, but also it is the best version of the game. I've gone and played a few different versions on emulators. The Amiga version looks very nice, but doesn't play anywhere near as good. The SNES version wasn't as good. I bought one of these little retro handhelds, the R36S, when we were at the Retro Computer Museum, and I played it on that a little bit. And that was quite good fun.
What was quite good fun was watching Dave's purchasing experience for that little machine, where he was been in and out of the shop at the Retro Game Museum about 5 times, looking at the box and trying to decide whether he wanted to drop some money on it. And then towards the end of the day, when it was a bit quieter, they went, "Oh, we've got one you can have a go on." And he played it for about 4 seconds and went, "Yep, I'll have one of them."
Yeah, I played Desert Strike. That was the main thing I wanted to try on it.
So your other game, which we didn't really do an episode on.
Yeah, my other game, which didn't really get its own episode, but had a prominent part of our Amiga special, was Speedball 2. I think we could have talked about it a bit more And
Yeah.
we could possibly come back to it and do its own episode. I mean,
For sure.
I really want to get some gameplay footage of us playing it so everyone can see just how bad you are at it.
I loved Speedball 2, and I played very little of it. And it's one of those games that very much, which is why we spoke about it so much in the Amiga episode, it very much feels like the Amiga and it are very closely tied together, like a Game Boy and Tetris. Do you know what I mean? It's very much similar. The Amiga and Speedball 2, as much as Speedball 2 appeared on other things, it feels like an Amiga game. And I'd always sort of seen it and played bits of it and been impressed by it and liked it. We played a good chunk of it in 2-player mode. I was awful at Speedball 2.
It's a proper retro game as well.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get a game like that now. It's too simple.
That's true, yeah. Good shout.
So we're on into the glorious PlayStation era. And this is the bulk of the things we've already covered, actually. 6 out of 10.
I've got 4, you've got 2.
Yeah, well, technically we both selected Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
We did.
You very kindly gave it back to me because I gave you 3 of the others. And to be fair, as a 10, that is probably close to, if not, my actual top 10 PS1 games.
Well, I can vouch for it being 8 great games because I've actually not played 2 of them. I think this will come out later on in the episode, how sort of Dave has to tuck away a bit of his preferences so we can choose games that I have actually played or would even want to play. Yeah. God bless him. It's a sacrifice he makes for the greater good.
Yeah, because you're a whiny bitch and won't play anything you don't like.
Guilty! So, starting at the bottom, the greatest peripheral-based video game ever made.
Nope. Wrong.
It's not Sega Bass Fishing.
No.
That wasn't on the PlayStation.
That's the second best. The best peripheral-based video game of all time is Taiko Drum Master. And you know it.
My pick for the greatest peripheral-based video game of all time would be Time Crisis. If you've heard the episode, you already know why this is. If you haven't heard the episode, go back and listen to it. What is such a simple concept? It's utterly, utterly brilliant. It and its sequel, and probably free as well. So I've got it in here as a PS1 game. Obviously, the arcade version exists, but you could argue the PS1 game is better because it's got a couple of extra modes on it, and the main story mode plays out pretty much identically to the arcade. It's a masterpiece of simple peripheral-based video games.
It's also now actually possible to play at home again because of the resurgence of light guns. As
the resurgence happens, they're also getting a bit cheaper as well.
Oh yeah, they are very expensive.
For an arcade game, it is exceptionally skill-based. Every time you play it, you will get better at it and you will learn it, and it's very much a skill-based game, and it doesn't really sort of lean into the whole money vacuum side of arcade gaming. It gets tough, but it's tough in a way that, you know, you have another go. You will get a bit further every time you play it, and it's got continues as well. So you can coin spam your way through it if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
But yes, Time Crisis. That's on my list. I'll go again. Picked Resident Evil 2 this time. It changes between Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2 on a regular basis. I felt on this occasion, as I was putting this list together, Resident Evil 2 was the best too. Again, what more can you say about Resident Evil 2 that A, hasn't been said before, and B, we haven't already said before? The PlayStation was an era of games that felt brand new, of new ideas, of things being done that didn't feel like they'd been done before. And Resident Evil is definitely one of those games. And Resident Evil 2 just polished it up a little bit. A really, really great game. So that's Resident Evil 2. Again, go back and listen to our episode on it. There's a couple of great personal stories in there about playing the game, so that will definitely be new. If you think you've heard everything about Resident Evil 2, you haven't heard Dave's Resident Evil 2 story yet. And then Dave mentioned at the beginning, we both originally picked Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, so I'll let you eulogise for a second about that. That is another one of these episodes, if you go back and listen to it, where it's just me and Dave talking about how awesome a game is and how awesome a soundtrack is as well.
Well, it's got your favourite song of all time in it, hasn't it?
Yes, it does, yes. so much my favourite song that the emotion it brings to me, I don't even know the name of the song or the band that do it. I just know that... What is it?
I can't remember it off the top of my head. I've got a feeling it's the Suicide Machines. New girlfriend or something.
Yeah. Fuck me, what a shit show. Yeah, but anyway, lots of that in the episode. Great soundtrack, but also some awful songs on it. And you'll probably hear in that why we picked Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and not Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2. What's your other game, Dave? You only have 2, but we've already done episodes for.
My other game was the best driving game on the PlayStation, which is the mighty Gran
Ridge
Turismo.
Racer Revolution.
The mighty Gran Turismo. It still boggles my mind that Gran Turismo is only ever released on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think I do find it quite funny that I remember watching replays and thinking that they were basically a sniff away from looking like film footage, and when you look, and genuinely believing that at the time, 1998, yeah. Compared to what had happened before it, the way those replays sort of lit what was going on and shot what was going on and made it happen, that really didn't exist before.
No. It revolutionised driving games.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're coming to the end of season 2 now, and that's how we started.
Yeah.
Back all that way with Gran Turismo. I'm going to go on at length about the one game from this era we haven't already done an episode on, and then we are going to do an episode on it as well. So prepare to get bored of me talking about that when we come to it.
That's fair.
The game we've most recently covered, Bushido Blade, I've chosen as well. You'll have heard what I feel and think and adore about Bushido Blade, and going back and playing it recently did nothing but reinforce all of those thoughts and feelings about it. It is an iconoclastic video game. It's just an absolute brilliant one-off that hasn't been repeated despite who has tried and how many times it's been tried. It's just, for my money, an absolute singular masterpiece of a video game. But yes, that was very recent. So if you've never heard of it or never played of it, give us a listen on that episode and you will want to afterwards.
Yeah.
And then, to nobody's surprise at all, my easily best game on the PlayStation, best game of the 32-bit era, in the running for best game of all time, Tomb Raider.
Yeah, no argument.
End of conversation.
The game that made me buy a PlayStation.
Yeah.
I was on the fence. I'd seen the Saturn. I'd seen the PlayStation. I'd thought, I don't really need to buy a new console right now. Went round a friend's house who just bought Tomb Raider, played it for about half an hour. Went home, bundled up my Mega Drive and all my games. Actually, I think it was my SNES and all my games at that point. Into a big bag, caught the next bus into Bedford, part exchanged the lot for a PlayStation and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, it's another episode where it's just us eulogising about how fantastic a video game is, and that's Tomb Raider. And you'll hear why it's Tomb Raider and not Tomb Raider 2 if you listen to it as well.
So we're on to the loosely named Dreamcast PC era.
Quite a few of mine we've already done.
Yeah, 3 out of 5.
There are games that make you think of the Dreamcast, and I think each and every one of the 3 games I'm about to mention falls into that bracket.
Yeah, definitely.
Crazy Taxi is definitely one of them. So much fun to play. So much listening to the same 3 songs over and over and over.
2 songs.
Oh yeah, 2 songs.
Bad Religion and The Offspring.
What a choice. If you've never played Crazy Taxi, what are you doing with your life? Go and play some Crazy Taxi.
Yeah. Somebody's into retro gaming and has never played Crazy Taxi.
Yeah. Sort it out. Was our episode on Soul Blade / Soul Calibur?
I think technically it was Soul Blade.
Hmm.
But the conversation is mostly Soul Calibur because it's a much better game.
Yes, and I was a fool because until I've replayed it for this podcast, I was a staunch believer that Soul Blade was the better game.
Nope.
And I was wrong.
Yeah.
Happy to admit it.
Good, but not better.
No. Its Edge Master mode is better done. Everything else Soul Calibur does better.
Yeah. It's also my favourite cocktail that I've found to fit to a game that I've tried and liked, which was the Uncut Gem.
Oh yes, I remember you actually making a cocktail. It was possibly the first time. But yes, Soul Calibur is an absolute masterpiece. Again, really, really great game. My Dreamcast top 5 was a tough choice. And so yeah, Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur, definitely in there, along with Jet Set Radio.
Awesome game. Love Jet Set Radio.
Phenomenal game. And again, I think it's interesting, in sort of quite short order, we've mentioned Tony Hawk's Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio, because I think they're all very much of a similar vibe. I think Jet Set Radio and Tony Hawk's Pro Skater might do it a little bit better than Crazy Taxi, probably because Crazy Taxi has 2 songs. And Jet Set Radio and Tony Hawk's have a few more. But it's that marriage of game and music put together, and just the vibe that these games create, all of them. Jet Set Radio, for me, it's an absolute masterpiece of a game. Jet Grind Radio, if you're in America, is the wrong name. I don't know why they changed it. And you only had 1 in this section.
Well, I did have originally Soul Calibur as well.
You did, yeah, true.
Because it was the game that made me buy my Dreamcast. But yeah, my one game out of this section that's an episode we've done is The Mighty Doom. One of the most influential games of all time in terms of crossover into mainstream media.
It's one of those times, a bit like Street Fighter 2, where quite often there are games that are important but not good when you go back to them. And there are billions of games that are good but not considered important. And Doom and Street Fighter 2 are in that sweet spot where they are both hugely important, hugely influential, but hugely brilliant to play to this day.
Yeah.
So I guess that's sort of a bit of a halfway. We're probably less than halfway, because I think we'll probably talk a bit more about the games coming up. But I think going back over that there, I'm happy with what I've chosen, looking at it and talking about it. I think these are magnificent video games, and anybody looking for... How many did we just go through? So we said I had 12, so basically best part of 20 games. If you want to pick 20 old games to play, then that's a great list of 20 games.
It's 18.
18. If you want to hear a couple of aging old geezers yapping on about how brilliant they were at more length than we just had, then go back and listen to the episodes. If you wanted to do yourself a favour and not listen to the Street Fighter 2 episode, I won't take it personally. You'll get a bad impression of us. Oh, and if this is the first episode of us you ever listened to, do not start properly at Street Fighter 2.
I'd say probably start with Time Crisis.
Okay, so on to what will be in the next 1, 2, 3, however long we manage to keep going at this nonsense for. These games are almost all likely to get episodes.
A lot of them have been talked about before in other episodes.
Yes.
I think I've mentioned every single game on this list.
Again, just to recap, we started off with the 5 categories. The top of the category list, as we wrote it out, was arcade games. Mostly kind of vintage arcade games, not even retro. You think arcade games were still coming out of the Dreamcast era. We talked about Crazy Taxi, Soul Calibur right now. These are both arcade games. But the ones we've picked for arcade, both of us, all 10, are pretty much what you'd class as vintage. Number 5 on my list of the 5 best arcade games that I remembered whilst making this list.
on this particular day, with the wind blowing in this direction.
All these caveats are true. I think one of the more obscure, if not the most obscure game on the whole list, not deliberately, well, no spoilers, we won't talk about anything else, but there's a game called Boogie Wings. Also, it's either subtitled or also known as The Great Ragtime Show, which is a terrible name for a game. Boogie Wings is much more representative of what the game does.
It's a great game.
It's almost defies description. As you start playing it, you will think you are playing a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up with an aeroplane, but also has a hook on the bottom of it for you to pick up enemies on the ground and equipment and stuff. And then your plane gets shot out of the sky and you find yourself running on the ground as a little human dude as you play the game. And then there'll be a Jeep that you can jump into and drive that for a bit whilst... And it is utterly brilliant. And as I say, it almost defies description because it's just joyous. And I think that is something that I've come to a lot when talking about these games in their own episodes, and I will now. When a game just fills me with genuine joy, when you start playing a game and a thing happens and you just go that's when I'm going to love a video game, and Boogie Wings is absolutely chock full of it. It's a masterpiece.
It is a very, very fun game to play. It's sort of a World War I era biplane that you fly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's bonkers and great fun.
Yeah. Only playable on MAME, never released outside of the arcade, which is absolutely criminal. And so what do you got, Dave?
So one of my greatest ever memories of walking into an arcade when I must have been probably about 5 or 6. Bearing in mind I was born in 1977, I would have walked into an arcade in around 1983, 84, and heard samples from Star Wars playing somewhere, only to be presented with quite possibly the greatest arcade cabinet that has ever existed and ever will.
It's a wonderful thing.
The sit-down cockpit Star Wars arcade game. If you don't know it, find it, play it. It works beautifully on MAME with a mouse. Basically, it's a 1983 wireframe game with literally 4 colours and some terrible speech samples from the original Star Wars film. But it is dripping in nostalgia for anyone that's ever played it. The home computer versions of it that were on the ST and Amiga replaced the analog control flight stick thing that you had with the mouse. And they were fantastic versions, including there was a version of the Star Wars game on the Amiga that replaced all of the Star Wars dialogue from the films with comedy swearing versions of those lines. So instead of flying into the Death Star and it saying, "Oh, look at the size of that thing," some bloke in a northern accent just went, "Oh, it's fucking massive." And it was just brilliant. It was one of those weird little oddities that the Amiga had that just made it so much fun.
You nearly missed, you dickhead.
But yeah, Star Wars cockpit arcade cabinet. If you can find one, buy it. 'Cause don't think there are many left.
It's always really pleasing to me when you play something on MAME that it works, because there's always a good chance that, okay, you've got the nostalgia thing where sometimes you've got rose-tinted glasses, and then you've got the control scheme thing where sometimes what's happening in the arcade and the physicality of it is part of the experience that you can never quite get over.
Yeah.
And sometimes a game is just so good that it gets over those things and, as you say, plays perfectly with a mouse and is as much fun as it is, nostalgia notwithstanding. It's well worth your time. I think any Star Wars fan who hasn't played it will get more enjoyment from it than even somebody who just likes a good shooter, because it is just a good shooter as well. My second one, in fact, it is another esoteric pick. If Boogie Wings isn't the most obscure game on this list, then this might be. It's a game called The Outfoxies.
It's a shit name. There's no two ways about it. It's a fantastic game, but it is a shit name. You have to admit that.
It is. If you've ever played Power Stone 2, which doesn't appear anywhere on this list, just didn't quite make it, for me at least. The Outfoxies is basically a 2D 16-bit pixel version of Power Stone 2. It is a side-on, arena-based combat game where the arena that you're in evolves as time goes on. So in one point you're in a building that's collapsing, and another point I think you're in a boat that's sinking, and you are running around in this environment with your character who has a weapon and a special move, and as does the enemy, and it's just a one-on-one battle. It's utterly brilliant. Much like Boogie Wings, there's nothing else quite like it, so it's a bit difficult to describe. I just tried. I hope that's intrigued you enough to want to play it, because there's no other way to experience it. Even watching videos of it, it doesn't quite convey the experience of playing it and sort of experiencing these things for the first time. And I think that is what is brilliant about these more obscure games, is that you can go back and play them as new to you. It's one of the cleverest, funniest, silliest games I can remember playing and discovering. I know Dave's played it. Would you agree, Dave? Does it deserve its place in this top 10 arcade games?
No. Sorry, it is a good game. It is a fun game, but I think Outfox is an interesting choice, but it's not one I agree with.
Oh, Dave. Oh, we'll hear more about that when we do it. Give it its own episode.
I'll lavish it with praise when we're not talking about anything else.
So go have a play for yourself. If you've played it before, drop us a comment. Give us your opinion on whether it should be in the top 5, 10, 20, whatever vintage classic arcade games ever made. You were going chronologically with Star Wars starting. What's the second one you've got?
Any time I ever saw this game at the time, and any time I ever saw it after that, I would always play it. And it's a game called Karate Champ. So it's a twin-stick, one-on-one fighting game, and it's glorious. So you've got 8 directions of movement with one stick. I don't think it's even that. I think it's 4. Now that I think about it, it is 4. It's that old. It's 1984, and I think I must have played it in 1986. And basically, this is the era when you go out as a family to the pub.
Yeah.
There's a room with an arcade machine. Just dump him in there. It'll be good for a few hours.
Yeah.
Like pop your head out every now and then and ask for £1 to go and change it into 10p's. I love Karate Champ, and it's one of the ones that plays beautifully on MAME because of modern dual analog stick controllers. I mean, the analog bit doesn't really apply anymore, obviously, but having 2 sticks to recreate that original 2-stick control method is just fantastic. It's a very, very, very early, very rough version of what became Ya Kung Fu, International Karate, Way of the Exploding Fists, all of those home 8-bit era games. And I think it's kind of unknown as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's been a little bit lost in the wake of. I mean, IK Plus always seems to be the one that hogs the limelight, and I'm always bringing up Way of the Exploding Fist in reference to that. As we mentioned in a Bushido Blade episode, the one hit kill thing harks all the way back to this, because there was no energy bar in Karate Champion Way of the Exploding Fist. No. If you landed a hit properly, you won the point. And it was in replaying Bushido Blade for that episode reminded me of that, and I'd never put the two things together before. It is brilliant to see how all these games kind of link together and inspire each other. For years and years and years, as far as I was concerned, Way of the Exploding Fist was the first beat 'em up, and to see where it took its inspiration to it broadly, ripped off, was absolutely fascinating. But yeah, great choice.
Thank you.
I wouldn't consider it in the top 10 arcade games ever made.
Would you not?
I would not.
Welcome to the fantasy zone. Get ready.
If you only ever played it on a home computer, you'd say, that's a really good shooter. That's a really good game. I liked that a lot. And you'd see it there and you go, the second best arcade game ever made? Are you insane? And then I take you back in time and sit you in the massive, great big hydraulically powered Space Harrier arcade machine with its speakers right next to your eardrums. Off you go, son. Enjoy yourself. If you then disagree that it's one of the best arcade games ever made, then we can't be friends.
No, fantastic game. One of my favourite memories of all time is watching my uncle get into the Space Harrier arcade game, get shaken around, walk out of it like limping, grey, trying to be sick. It was fucking hilarious. It was about 7 or 8. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen in my life at that point.
It looks stunning. It's brilliant sort of pseudo 3D into the screen. If you've never seen it, then where have you been? But using Sega's sprite scaling thing, their technology for that, it's just absolutely stunning. And it's the style of it. Each level looks and feels different. And I always, to this day, love whenever I play it. And it's some things that sadly some of the arcade conversions are missing. But there is something brilliant, and I come back to this word joyous, about when you go to the bottom of the screen, you start running on the ground.
Yeah, I always thought that was great.
Doesn't affect your game at all, but it's just one of those little things that that's just brilliant.
Yeah. It's also bonkers.
Yes, it is insane.
Just where did those design choices come from? I mean, the central character is a guy with like a jetpack.
Is it a flying guy with a gun? Or a guy with a flying gun? I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know, and I'm not sure anybody does. If you do know, leave us a comment. So, Yu Suzuki, the legacy of games that he's got is incredible. Space Harrier is amongst them. Play it however you can. There is a Dreamcast port of it that is probably, I think, the most accurate.
Is that the version that's in Shenmue?
Yes, technically it is, yeah. So you can either play Shenmue and get to that, or there is, again, if you're emulating, what you're looking for is a compilation called Yu Suzuki's Gameworks Volume 1. I don't know how many working Space Harrier arcade machines are left in the world right now. I would imagine very few. If you do ever happen to come across a Space Harrier arcade machine, by God, jump in it and don't get out until you can't handle it anymore. What is, in chronological order, your third game?
I can't really separate these. It's 1942 and or 1943. 1942 is as far as I'm concerned, the first vertical shoot 'em up. There are others that predate it, but that's the first one I found in an arcade. It's definitely the first one I really enjoyed and like stuck in the memory. I had 1943 on the Amstrad and played that a hell of a lot. And when I've gone back and played it in arcades, I would rather play 1943 than 1942.
Okay.
It is a better game, just outright much, much better. But it's also a very, very strange game. I think it does deserve its own episode because there's a lot of strangeness around this game. So it's made by a Japanese developer based on World War II from the point of view of the Americans fighting the Japanese. So that on its own is an odd thing to sort of explore and why that choice was made. For a Japanese company to basically put out a game about Pearl Harbor from the point of view of the Americans, I've always seen as really strange. I've never really got why they did it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it could be fascinating to dig into that.
It's one of those games you'll occasionally find in the wild as well. Like you go into like NQ64 we went to in London recently, and they had a working 1942, probably not an original cabinet, but certainly an original looking board, an original looking monitor that was fucked beyond all recognition. But really playable, a fantastically playable game. And 1943, the second one, is like levels better as well.
I remember just the way things move. When you get the little power-up, that's the two planes that attach to the side of you.
Yep.
And the way they flying and then fly. And the is it when you do the smart bomb or is it an avoidance move where you do the loop?
The loop, yeah. That's 1943, I think.
It just that animation and the sound effects that accompanied it. It seemed, I mean, it was what, 84, 85 we're talking?
84 for the first game.
Yeah. I just think, this sort of thing shouldn't have seemed as effective as it was, but it was. It's a great looking game, and the sound's iconic as well.
Great music.
If it gets an episode, it's likely to be the series rather than the one game. But I think that's 100% happening in our future. I've lost my list. Where's my list?
I think you know what's left, mate. You've got one arcade game left to talk about. What do you think it might possibly be?
Okay, so
Pit Fighter.
Primal Rage.
Mortal Kombat.
It will come as no surprise to anybody who has listened to it in the past that my number one pick for as far as I'm concerned, the greatest arcade game ever made, if not the greatest game ever made, is Outrun. It is, to my mind, video game perfection. There is no way in the world it's not going to get its own episode. I'm not going to bang on it at length now. But to me, it's not a racing game, it's a driving game. And it's not about winning, it's about enjoying the journey. And it's not about the graphics, it's not about the sound, it's not about the arcade cabinet, it's not about the music, it's about all of those things coming together into what, to my mind, pretty much the perfect arcade video game. The end for now. Dave.
My final game for the arcade is Great 1000 Miles Rally, otherwise known as Mille Miglia, which is a brilliant game. It's gorgeous to look at, it's gorgeous to listen to, it's great fun to control, and it's bastard hard. I found this, I actually played this in an arcade in Bedford in about 94, 95. I remember at the time thinking, this is great, this is really, really good. Never saw it again for like another, 10 years until MAME reared its ugly head.
Yes.
Because it was ugly back then. And I rediscovered it again. Oh, this is brilliant. I fucking love this game. It's one of those games that I tell people to play.
Yeah.
You know, when you've got a game that you think, oh, they might not have played this, I have to tell them.
I don't think we would be here doing this podcast today if it weren't for the Great 1000 Miles Rally.
Really?
I played this for the first time on one of those little pop-up main cabinet things. I found it, absolutely fell in love with it, and basically decided at that point I was going to make my own arcade cabinet so that I could play games like that. And the idea of this, finding arcade games that were brilliant, that nobody had ever heard of, came from the Great 1000 Miles Rally. Considering it was made by Panico, I think it is. it's got a lot of licensed cars that probably aren't actually licensed.
It's Kaneko or Kaneko.
Kaneko, that's it, Kaneko. Yeah, lots of Jaguars and Porsches that I'm pretty sure they didn't get permission to use the names and or images of. Fantastic choice, Dave. Really great to see it on the list. That's it, and that's our 10 arcade games. Which brings us on to what we're calling roughly the 8-bit / home computer, basically the next...
I know. If you're American, this is post-games crash era. That we've already said many times never happened to us.
No.
Yeah. Glory days.
Yeah. So the same year that Outrun came to the arcade, the ZX Spectrum had the sequel to the game that ripped off Star Wars arcade game that Dave mentioned earlier, Star Strike 2, which is as much on this list for how much it shocked me as a very young boy for just existing on the Spectrum and only the Spectrum. Star Strike 2 was a solid polygon flying game. It was just absolutely baffling that this thing existed to me and cost me £3 from W.H. Smith's.
That's pricey for a Spectrum game.
Yeah, right. It's incredible. It plays brilliantly to this day. It splits up into, there are different mission types. There are different things to consider, like fuel, like overheating your ammo and all this stuff. It just, for a £3 game, I think one of the most technologically advanced games on the Spectrum, one of the most in-depth games of its type on the Spectrum, and one of the most fun to play once you get over the slowdown. Because yes, the Spectrum can play this game, but by God, only just.
6 frames per second.
Yeah, it does chug. But yeah, it's brilliant, and it's one of those, again, I don't think many people outside Spectrum owners would have even heard of it because it was exclusive to the Spectrum. Utterly brilliant.
It does look great, I've got to say. It kind of looks like a cross between the Star Wars arcade game and Elite.
Yeah, I reckon that's not a bad shout.
And also, I think it's got a little bit of an element of Star Fox about it.
I think Dave's really hit the nail on the head. The original game, Star Strike, was a blatant rip-off of the Star Wars arcade game. And Star Strike 2, I think, clearly influenced in some ways by Elite. There's certain things, jump gates and things that were very clearly nicked from that. And yeah, I remember at the time when I first played Star Fox that it felt like the lineage was Star Strike 2. And considering Star Fox, was Star Fox made by a British team? It was, wasn't it? Argonaut, they were British.
The original founders of the company were a guy called Ian Oliver, Andrew Onions, which is a great name, and Graham Baird. I think if we can get an interview with one of them, you'd get your Star Strike episode, mate. My first choice from the 80s / 8-bit / home computer era is Gauntlet, which obviously came out primarily in the arcade, but I had this on the Amstrad and played a ton of it. It was brilliantly 2-player on 1 keyboard. But I fucking loved Gauntlet. I always have thought that I want to go through Gauntlet at some point and finish it, because I'm not convinced that you actually can.
I'm sure you can.
But it was brilliant. I fucking loved it. And it played really, really well on the Amstrad.
I think it's one of those got ported to absolutely everything.
Oh, yeah. But also as well, tons of sequels that are all shit. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. In fact, Gauntlet 2 was very good as well, now that I think about it. But when they tried to bring it forward into like the PlayStation era and beyond, it wasn't the same. It wasn't very good. There were other games doing it better by that point.
Which is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because we mentioned it talking to Rico. Into the Eagle's Nest, brilliant. Clearly takes inspiration from Gauntlet. His game, Alien Breed, clearly, admittedly by him, takes inspiration from Gauntlet. There are games that took inspiration from Gauntlet that better than quite a lot of the Gauntlet sequels.
Yeah.
And for me, I wasn't a huge fan of Gauntlet. They'd never really grabbed me.
You're just not really a fan of fantasy, are you?
I'm not. What do they call it? Do they call it? Is it high fantasy? Is that
yes.
What they're orcs and goblins and all that sort of shit?
I wonder if the difference is if you'd have grown up in a house where you were force-fed The Lord of the Rings like I was. You couldn't escape fantasy in my house.
What else you got?
I've got the awesome Ghostbusters game. which I know you remember fondly from the Spectrum. I remember fondly from the Amstrad. It's effectively the same game,
Yeah.
but the Amstrad version is much nicer to look at. It's got more than 3 colours.
And they don't sort of blend into each other on corners and things.
Yeah.
Not that it matters.
I tell you what, I was playing this today on an emulator, and it still looks pretty good.
I think it's got, quite a modern gameplay loop. Sort of away from the graphics, the way it plays, especially in the later games where you're having to sort of decide where to go and what to do and how to spend your money. And
managing a disaster, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it is. It's a very modern feeling gameplay loop. And this is a game from '84. Yeah, the Spectrum version looks like dog shit.
Yes.
But it's so addictive. It is a brilliant loop. It's a game you do play from beginning to end in one sitting.
Yeah.
You just sit down and you play through it, and brilliantly. And I think this is another first. The whole having a password to save your game that brings back
your cache.
So it's pretty almost like a roguelike in that sense. It kind of, you carry on, you start from the beginning, but you carry on with what you had before. It's a brilliant game. Obviously, I think when you first play it takes a bit of learning, but if you've played it before, you can pick it up, play through it in very short order and get yourself into a loop of building up your money. So it won't be long before you've got all the best equipment, all the best car and that, and it just extends the game and makes it fast better. But there's still that element of luck involved in the actual ghost catching part of it, where you're never 100% guaranteed to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Very cool. Sorry, I kind of took over your game there. But
I thought you might, because I know you love it. And anyone who had that game has a lot to say about it.
Yeah. Again, one of the first games I ever played as well, on a home computer, I should say.
And you get to hear the Ghostbusters theme tune about 18,000 times. After the initial load, the Amstrad version starts off with basically a karaoke screen. So the music's playing and a little bouncing dot bounces across the words. And I'd forgotten about it. I saw it today for the first time in, 35 years.
It had what I loosely describe as a speech sample.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like somebody shouting the word Ghostbusters down a tube full of marbles into a sheet of tinfoil.
Yeah, that's on the Amstrad version as well.
Jesus. Anyway, we have spent far too long talking about that game, but it is brilliant.
It is great fun.
Don't believe what other YouTube videos may have told you about it. Try it for yourself.
Yeah.
My next game, we've mentioned it, I think, in the Amiga episode.
Quite a bit, I think.
The fantastic stunt car racer. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, the best version is on the Amiga. I played it almost exclusive at the time on the Spectrum and just adore it. It's basically racing around roller coaster tracks in a car against another car. No edges, no rail. With jumps that you have to be going at the perfect speed to get over, not too fast, not too slow. Again, it's, for me, on the Spectrum, mind-blowing that it even existed. I didn't realise it was running half as fast as it could on other machines. I was just loving it for what it is, and that's how I think too many people forget about that kind of experience. You've got what you've got, and you love it for what it is. And Stunt Car Racer, and by the genius that is Jeff Crammond. Love to get him on the show. Just a genius of early racing game design. He made some of the biggest and best games in that space. Stunt Car Racer is a bit of an anomaly because it's not a sim kind of racing thing, but it's utterly brilliant, and it's one of the rare breed of racing games where it feels more that it's you against the track than you against the other driver.
Yeah, half the time you don't see the other car, because if you're doing well, it's in your rear view mirror. And if you're doing badly, it fucking comes around and laps you within 20 minutes.
All we mentioned in the Amiga episode, Amiga Live, grab yourself Amiga Live and have a go at your Amiga. Make sure one of the versions on there has got turbo mode turned on by default, which makes the game run at 4 times speed.
Oh.
Which is bonkers and still playable, but not how it's supposed to be played. is F2 to turn it off for those who get involved in that little thing. But that's a great way to play it, and that you can play multiplayer as well, which was reserved only for the very, very, well, rich people with a rich friend from back in the day. And to this day remains one of my favourite driving games, as much as it's, it's very, well, it's not really arcadey, but it's not a track racing game.
I think it could have been an arcade game.
It could have been an arcade game sort of at the time, around the era when the likes of hard driving and race driving were about. I just said it's a racing game where you're racing roller coaster tracks. That description could equally apply to Power Drift, which somehow is not on this list as well. But Power Drift is very much an arcade racing game, and Stunt Car Racer I don't feel is. But it's probably my own personal definition of what an arcade racing game is. What do you got for number 3? I guess this is third chronologically.
Yeah, so number 3 for me is a game called Saboteur. Basically like a secret agent infiltration mission thing. It's a little bit Metal Gear Solid. You infiltrate a facility. It's kind of a pseudo-Bond ninja film plot. But a great game. And one of the very, very few games that ever actually finished on the Amstrad. Really, really good.
Is it Saboteur that had the cool thing, like you went into a computer terminal and you could like put all the robot enemies into stasis on the level? No, I've got it confused with Impossible Mission. I'm thinking of Impossible.
Yeah, it is very similar to Impossible Mission. One of those great games where you can be walking along, pick up a brick, and then the next screen there's an attack dog or a guard, and you just throw the fucking brick at them. What's the solution to this puzzle? Brick. You pick up knives and things, but yeah, the best weapon is the brick.
Clive Townsend was the designer of Saboteur and Saboteur 2. He also was responsible for Rise of the Robots.
Oh no! Infamous.
I think what the Saboteur does, there's a sort of game from around that era that Saboteur is part of, and they were kind of around everywhere. They evolved into things like The Last Ninja, and they're a really important part of a sort of game that has kind of gone away a bit. And I think it's a great shout as a reminder of the sorts of games that were out there that seem to have disappeared a bit now.
Yeah.
That were great, but it is the sort of game that you would have sat and played and drawn your own map.
Yes.
As you played it. But this is the early days of gaming where they've evolved out of tabletop gaming and that sort of thing, and it's something you did. If you were playing a maze style game, you would steal a book of squared paper from the maths classroom and you would use it to draw your map for the Saboteur or Impossible Mission or anything like that. And that's just how you played those games. So I don't think there's any getting away from that kind of its important place in the evolution of games from the one thing to the next thing where they are now. Interesting choice. Go on, do another one.
You just said about making maps of games. The next game on this list is the literal definition of that. So this is the awesome role-playing game from the mid-80s, The Bard's Tale. And for a very, very long time, my favourite game of all time. So it's a classic role-playing game, but all of the levels, all of the maps within the game are on a 22 by 22 grid.
Right.
So the town itself is a 22 by 22 grid, and you move, like, literally turn left, turn right, move forward.
I need to interrupt. How do you view this? I've never played this game.
It's vaguely first person.
Oh, okay.
So the bottom half of the screen is your characters, their names, their armour, their hit points, etc. And then the actual view of the screen is probably the top left quarter. And then there'll be like a text window, which is like the top right corner. Think any of those old school role-playing games where you move through a three-dimensional space. And yeah, you just basically make your way through the overall maze of the town, and then you go into the various dungeons, and you basically go up or down levels, which increases the level of difficulty, the level of enemies that you face. And it's brilliant. I spent hundreds of hours playing The Bard's Tale, and I love it to this day. When they made Bard's Tale 4, they re-released 1, 2 and 3 as like remade classic things on the PC, and they're beautiful. I've played through the first game. I've never actually finished the second or third because I don't have the nostalgia for it.
I never played it.
Nor will you ever.
No. So down to the last two from the 80s.
Yes.
If you listen to us regularly, semi-regularly, if you've listened to like one
Ever.
in
If you've listened to any of season 1,
you would have heard of a Spectrum and Commodore 64 game called Turbo Esprit, because I crammed it in wherever I possibly could. This is, I think, one of the most ahead of its time video games ever made. One of the most, I think, quietly, the most influential games ever made. I don't think many people mention it, but considering where other games that have done very, very similar things, including the biggest gaming franchise on the planet,
Hello Kitty Island Adventure.
My Singing Monsters. Turbo Esprit, created in its entirety, as far as I can tell, by Mike Richardson. A game where you drive a small little Lotus Esprit into the screen and track down drug dealers and gun runners and evade hit cars, and you're in a sort of ish rendered 3D environment, open map, go where you want, do what you want, run over pedestrians, stop at red lights if you want, don't stop at red lights if you don't want, crash, earn points, earn penalty points. It's just, as far as I can tell, this game from 1986 is Grand Theft Auto Good Guy Edition.
It's the blueprint, isn't it?
Yeah. You can genuinely pull up at a zebra crossing, wait for one of the little stick man human figures to start crossing the road and run them over.
Good times.
So the gameplay loop for the game is there are a bunch of cars. There's a drug deal going on, basically, and you're in your car and you have to chase them down and bump into the back of them to catch them. Yes, that's Chase HQ, and that's how you do it. It feels like an alive place. There are traffic, there is roadworks going on. Let's say there is pedestrians walking down the side of the road, everything from 3-lane motorways down to 1-lane little side streets, and it's utterly brilliant. The fact that it exists is phenomenal. The fact that it's utterly incredible to play to this day is just mind-boggling, really. I struggle to think of another game that is so clearly so influential but still so mostly unheard of. I've mentioned before a website called Torinac, Torinak, and you can play the Spectrum online in its perfect glory via that. Go and give it a look. You can probably tell from the way I'm banging on, it's a fucking masterpiece. Go and play it. What's your last shout on the 80s / home computers / 8-bit era, Dave?
It's Barbarian, which, if you know it, needs no introduction. A fantastic one-on-one sword fighting combat game that variously depicts decapitations, Maria Whittaker, Wolf from Gladiators. It's brilliant. Every version of it is brilliant as well. We played a bit of it recently, didn't we, on Amiga Live?
We did, yeah.
Which was great fun. And no particular advantage one way or the other. We both won sort of probably about the same amount of fights, I would say, as each other.
Yeah.
You start off sort of in a forest, then you eventually work your way into what seems like a castle. And then you get to the very end and you fight against the evil wizard, which I'm not sure I ever did.
Did you not?
Because I can remember when we first talked about this, we talked about it, I don't know if it was during an episode or we just talked about it in general. And you said about, oh yeah, the guy who's like, you know, in the background of all the fights that you do in the second half comes down and you fight him. And it's like, I don't remember that.
It is disappointing, that final battle.
Is it?
Yeah, he basically chucks fireballs at you. You have to roll underneath them.
Oh, okay.
I think he might do like a high one that you've got to jump over. But basically, as soon as you touch him, he dies.
Oh,
so
wow.
You don't actually fight him.
Oh.
That's the Spectrum version. That's the only version I ever got to the end of.
Yeah.
And then Maria Whittaker appears and drapes herself at your feet.
As she was one to do. But yeah, absolutely loved Barbarian. Great game. Every version is great, as far as I know.
Another forebear of Bushido Blade.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
You can lose the fight in one hit.
Exactly, yeah.
If you're stupid enough to just stand there while somebody cuts your head off.
But when you're playing it 2-player, it's impossible not to be tempted to go for it.
You've got to give it a go.
You've got it. Why don't you start us?
Okay, so my 90s Although technically, I think it's a game released in the 80s, but I've sort of put 90s as like 16-bit era game. So ST Amiga, despite the fact the Amiga came out before the Amstrad. There's a great old game on mainly the ST and the Amiga. It did come out on lots of other things. Came out on the Mega Drive. I think there was an Amstrad version as well. But this is Sid Meier's Pirates, or just Pirates, as it was before he was famous. One of those awesome Microprose games. They seem to make so many good games back in those days. You are like the sort of long lost child of a family that's been split up and variously distributed around the Caribbean, and you take charge of a ship, and you're one of 4 nationalities, so you're either English, French, Dutch or Spanish, and you can pick a time period that you play in which will change which towns and cities exist on the map. But the map is the Caribbean. It's the whole of the Caribbean. So it's a massive gameplay area. And my current knowledge of the Caribbean is based on that game. So I can look at a map and just go, yeah, that used to be called Maracaibo. But yeah, great game. Spent hundreds of hours playing that. Basically, you're free to roam anywhere you want. Do whatever you want. So you're sailing along, you see an enemy ship, cuts from an overworld view to like a ship battle, and then you have to variously outmaneuver, fire cannons. You can attack towns. If they've got forts, you have to have a naval battle against a town, which isn't easy. And then on top of all that, you've got a ranking system with each of the nationalities, so you can earn promotions with each of them. You've got like a limited lifespan as well. I think you've got probably to about like your late 30s before you sort of have to retire.
Right.
But you variously pick up crew from all the taverns that you stop at and then lose them or not in fighting. A lot to talk about. You'd hate it.
Is there any similarity between it and Defender of the Crown?
Yeah, a little. When you do the sword fighting,
Yeah.
it's a little bit more evolved in Pirates. You've got, basically, you move the mouse to move a cursor sort of high, medium or low, and you can either attack or defend, and there's like 2 levels to the attack. So from Defender of the Crown, the simple click a button until one of you falls over. As much as I love Defender of the Crown, its mechanics are terrible.
Yeah, it's just as you were talking about, and it's the only point of reference that I could think of for anything.
Yeah.
For me, obviously, for everybody else, probably knows well what you're talking about and has got other games that are very similar. But for me personally, the Defender of the Crown was the only thing that kind of sounded like it might.
Yeah,
be.
not a million miles away.
Just love hearing your passion for it, mate.
From sailing the Caribbean to your next choice, what have you got?
Flashback and Cannon Fodder were 1 and 2. I've already mentioned them. So, but skipping down to the end, Super Mario Kart. Looking at these lists, it's funny that not just Pirates, but one of Dave's other games also will have to get a ringer in to do an episode. I think these games as well. I think if I wanted to do an episode on these games, I'd have to get somebody else in, because I don't think you ever actively disliked the SNES or Nintendo games, but you didn't really play them, did you? You're not really.
Yeah, I've always had a funny relationship with Nintendo stuff.
Yeah,
and it carries on to this day. I just have a dim view of them. Don't get me wrong, I loved Super Mario Kart. I mean, we used to play that quite a bit.
Yeah,
I used to love playing that game, and other games on the SNES as well. I had a SNES. I actually had a SNES for a while.
Year's Edge, yeah.
I've got no hatred of Nintendo. I just don't like a lot of their choices.
I think that's fair. I mean, all of my favourite Nintendo games tend to be outside of the norm. Super Mario Kart, I adore to this day. Thanks to Mario Kart 8 Ultra on the Wii U originally, and then the Switch is not the greatest Mario Kart game anymore, but it was up until that point. Simply because of this thing that retro games do so well, where they take a very simple mechanic and a simple concept and make it brilliant fun. The battle mode in Super Mario Kart is still the best multiplayer version of Mario Kart that exists. There was only ever one map you ever played when you were playing battle mode. The first one was too open. The fourth one was definitely way too complicated, but there were either 2 or 3. I think possibly 2 now I think about it. Go to that, play battle mode, play it for hours.
Yeah.
Just brilliant. Just taking these very few elements and building a very strategic, very fun, very fast, one-on-one battle game out of them. Were it not for battle mode, Super Mario Kart would not be on this list.
Yeah. I'm surprised you've got it there, actually.
I genuinely, I played it with you, I played it with my mate James endlessly. Kev, I remember went to Cambridge for New Year's Eve many moons ago and stayed at a mate's house, and he busted out Super Mario Kart at some point. And I sort of proudly stepped up and was like, yeah, fuck it, I've been playing this for years. He absolutely murdered me. He was so good. It was just, it was horrendous. It was like, I've been the best person I know at this game for so long, and I feel like a child now. Okay, what you got for us next?
My next game is Frontier Elite 2.
Ooh.
A game you have never played and never will play.
I own Frontier Elite 2 for the Amiga.
Oh, okay. Best version.
I have never played it.
No.
I did buy it fairly recently. I always buy games because I want to play them. I'm not going to presume that I will like it. It's another one we're definitely doing an episode in the future, and our mate from the System Shock episode will be back to pick up my slack on that one.
Yeah, if we can't get Sir David Brabham to come on.
Yes, absolutely. We'll try our best.
We may have to push Rack to one side if Sir David is willing to come on.
I think even Rich would probably acquiesce to that without too much of a fight. Describe to me the gameplay of Frontier Elite 2 from a very high level.
You're free to fly around the galaxy, trading, fighting, performing missions for 2 separate government bodies. It's basically a free-form space trading game.
I mean this sincerely, not in the facetious way it's going to sound, because that's just me. Where does the fun come from in trading?
Earning money to upgrade or replace your ship with a better one, then outfit it with better equipment to fight stronger enemies.
Fair.
I can't see you ever really taking to it, but I'd be interested to see your thoughts.
For somebody who is here doing a podcast about video games to say I've never played Frontier Elite 2, it's a bit being a football commentator and going, I've never watched a highlight of Maradona's best goals or anything. It's just like,
yeah,
you're not doing your job. So I refuse to write it off, as much as there is a good chance I won't love it. I need to play it. I need to find out for myself.
Yeah, definitely.
It's a good shout, and again, it's getting its own episode, and to listening to you and Rich talk about it, it'll be a long one.
So what's your number 4 for the 90s?
So as we stay in space, I can see you have renamed as Star Wing.
Because that's what you would have played.
That is what I would have played. And it is known to everybody, including me now, as Star Fox on the SNES. The utterly brilliant 3D shooter, and it's likely to get its own episode. I'm not entirely sure because of Dave's aversion to all things Nintendo, but
No, I like Star Wing. I love games that run at 5 frames per second. Which that does at times.
Yeah, and I think this is a thing. I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I didn't know. I didn't care. I wasn't a child playing this game. I just played it, and I didn't have the internet in my face going, oh my god, this runs at 5 frames a second. Oh my god, I'm gonna get a refund on Steam because this game runs so badly. I didn't have any of that. I had the cartridge, my SNES, my TV, and I absolutely fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Everything from start to finish, from the cartoon characters, from the wing damage to the different paths you could find through the levels, the different viewpoints you were given in different levels, the massive creativity that was created with very simple graphics. I absolutely adored it. I basically cleaned out that game. If it had achievements, I would have got all of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I played it endlessly. I discovered the secret little ditty that plays at the end of the credits that I've seen mentioned incredibly rarely to this day. So if you leave the credits running till the end, till they stop, a good amount of time, it starts playing the theme tune, but in little sort of very simplistic terms, like somebody, like an 8-year-old playing a xylophone. Like bong, bong. Bong, 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 bong. And it just does that a couple of times and then stops. And I discovered it because I finished it and ran downstairs for my dinner and then was like, what the fuck's that noise? And went back up and saw it doing it. I think there's one video of it on YouTube last time I checked, which was a few years ago. And it doesn't really get mentioned. It's an odd one. But yeah, brilliant game. You go next.
My last choice for the 90s is Sensible Soccer, which we've played a little bit of recently on Amiga Live. We're shite, aren't we? We really are terrible at that game. We played, 10, 12 games in a row, and they all ended 0-0.
I think there was 1-1-1
Yeah.
and 1-1-0.
I think I got a penalty in one, didn't I?
That's right. Yeah.
Fucking terrible. But I've always been a big fan of Sensible Soccer. I loved it when it first came out on the Amiga. I had a version of it on the Mega Drive, and I'd forgotten that because the Mega Drive has the 3 buttons, those 3 buttons do different things. It adds quite an element of quality of life to it over the original. Well, what I think of the original, which I guess is the Amiga version. You can't not like Sensible Soccer.
No, it's a brilliant game, and there's very little else to say about it. I played mostly the worst version, the SNES version, which was slow and cramped and a bit shit, and still loved it. That's how good it was. If 2 people are playing Sensible Soccer, the person who's best at Sensible Soccer will win.
Yeah.
If 2 people are playing FIFA, playing online, then whoever's got the biggest wallet wins.
Yeah.
Sensible Soccer, as you say, on the Amiga, 4 directional controls and a kick button. It's not complicated, but the depth and the brilliance that it creates because you have to work with what you've got. I would have preferred to lose some of those games and then be 0-0 draws, but it's still brilliant fun to play. It's a great game, and it's
still updated to this day.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Amazingly.
Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, great community around it.
What's your last game of the 90s?
In the retro zeitgeist, it's renowned as one of the best games ever made. It's Super Metroid. I think almost entirely speaks for itself. What doesn't speak for itself in just it's Super Metroid, and you listening to us already know all there is to know about Super Metroid, is the fact that I, a bloke who revels in the unknown, the unheard of, in games that are obscure and different and interesting, still believes that Super Metroid is easily one of the best video games ever made.
Yeah.
It almost perfected the whole, what is known for some reason as the Metroidvania genre.
I fucking hate that.
Everything that people think of as Metroidvania was in Metroid.
Was Super Metroid the sequel to Metroid, or was it just like the Super NES version of Metroid?
It's actually, Dave, the third game in the series. Metroid was the NES. Metroid 2 was the Game Boy.
Oh, okay.
And then Super Metroid was on the Super Nintendo. Pretty much, as I say, that early on in the whole concept of this horribly named genre pretty much perfected the whole damn thing. There's a few things that, again, you talk about quality of life in other games, that it could do a little bit better when played through a modern lens. Impossible to ignore, impossible to say anything new about.
I've never played it, as far as I'm aware. I was a really, really big fan of an Amiga game called Turrican. It's far superior.
Turrican 2 is a big pile of shit.
If you haven't already, listen to the Amiga special for that one. That really tickled Rico, didn't it? Your hatred of Turrican.
So we are on to the PlayStation 1 era.
Yes, and you've already mentioned 4 of your 5, and I've already mentioned 2 of mine. So my top game, and it is definitely one of my favourite games on the PlayStation, is Tenchu, Stealth Assassins. Fucking love this game. Played it to death. Hardest difficulty, every level, every layout, grandmastered. There's nothing in this game I haven't done. The second one was a little bit disappointing because for some reason they decided to set their ninja stealth game in daylight. Yeah, great choice.
Yes, say I can personally attest for how much Dave liked this game because he brought it round to my house once and I watched him play it. I didn't get a go.
Damn right. Not having you sully it.
That's kind of how it felt. It's very close to that line of too janky to play, but I think it's just on the right side. I mean, it makes it brutally hard.
Yeah.
It's a skill-based game. You just have to learn how to be better at it. My big question for you, though, is why Tenchu and not Metal Gear Solid?
I wanted one of the two, and I thought, well, we've already talked at length about Metal Gear Solid. We did a very good episode on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I got more out of Tenchu. Because Metal Gear Solid, you play the story and that's it.
Yeah.
You play through the exact same scripted thing every time. Your only real options are whether or not to kill everybody as you play it. How many did you manage? Was it 700 or something?
It was a lot. I half expected your answer to be because Metal Gear Solid is not a stealth game.
And also, you can't jump over anything. Tenchu, you can climb, you can grapple hook up onto things, you can run across rooftops. That freedom for me is what makes Tenchu a better game.
Good answer.
But also as well, Tenchu's not up its own arse with its story.
I think Metal Gear Solid may be our best episode we've done of this podcast.
It's definitely a good one. I do like it.
Yeah. If this is the first one you've listened to, I wouldn't say it's the starting point because that means everything else is going to pale into insignificance next to it. But it's definitely worth a listen. I'm going to let you carry on and do both of your next two before I finish up.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. You'll be happy to know that you don't ever need to play these. So number 4 is Final Fantasy VIII. Which
right.
I don't think I need to say much about because I'd be wasting my breath on you, and anybody that's ever heard of it doesn't need me to tell them about it.
I think much like Tenchu, the question that may be on many people's lips.
Why 8, not 7?
Why 8, not 7, yeah.
8's such a better game. 7's good, and I obviously I had 7, I played it to death.
And you loved it.
Oh, yeah,
and you
I
adored
still
it.
do, but 8 just is so much nicer to play. The difference between 7 and 8 is almost a generational leap in terms of graphics. But also as well, the systems, the underlying systems that are in it are so much better in number 8.
Why are we never doing an episode on it?
Because you won't play it.
I won't, no. Absolutely not. Not in a million
Ever.
years. If you're out there and you want to help Dave do an episode on Final Fantasy VIII, drop us a message. Okay, so from one game you reckon I'll never play and we'll never do an episode to another game that you reckon I'll never play and we'll never do an episode.
There is an element of Front Mission 3, which is my last choice for the PS1 era, which I think you would really, really enjoy. It's a turn-based tactics mech game where you variously change the parts of your mech and weaponry and skills and things to change how it plays. If it was just that, I think you'd love it. But there's this very annoying text-only, basically anime series that runs through the whole rest of the game. The actual time spent of Front Mission 3 is about 90% skipping text for about 10% of actual, playing the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's good. It is really, really good. And apparently there is a remake on the way as well. They've remade the first 2 over the last couple of years. And the third one, when that comes out, might well be worth me picking up. You probably wouldn't.
Front Mission 3 is a bit like the Final Fantasy 7 of this series in that most people started with Front Mission 3.
Yeah, because the first 2 didn't come out outside of Japan.
I actually tried a Front Mission game. I think it might have been on the Game Boy Advance.
Oh, okay.
Because, the Game Boy Advance was the point where I got back really hard into turn-based strategy game. There are some fantastic turn-based strategy games on the GBA. Front Mission being whichever one it was, being well reviewed and being turn-based tactics. Yeah, I thought, I'll give that a go. I don't think I ever played an actual mission. Oh my god. Oh.
Story, more story, bit more story.
Oh, stop. Are we still going? What? I've learnt nothing. This is awful. Yeah, it's not for me. Story-based games have their place, and their place is not in my collection. It is very rare that I am invested or even interested in a video game story.
Yeah, even I struggle with the text in this game. But Front Mission 3 has a special place in my heart because it's the first time I ever used Excel to make a spreadsheet based on a game. To keep track of all the characters and skills and weapons and things.
God. Oh, amazing.
That was great fun. I've still got it somewhere. That Excel file is older than some of the people I work with. That's a scary thought.
Amazing. If you are listening to us on YouTube, you can also be watching us on YouTube. It's not about us, it will be footage of games we're talking about. If you are watching the video version of this, hi, you will very soon be enjoying footage of Driver on the PlayStation 1. And you will be watching me completing the notoriously difficult car park tutorial level in about 35 seconds. Suck it, losers. Driver is one of those games that makes you feel like a god. It makes you really feel like you
or a twat.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can flip that coin in a heartbeat. It's so much fun to play. Capturing that video, I had so much fun doing that again. Haven't done that for a long time, that parking garage thing, which is why I hit that car near the beginning. So yeah, I basically played nothing else but Driver for what felt like years. I remember playing, much like we were saying with Tony Hawk's, playing the
demo
version like over and over and over and over again. It gives you a video editing mode, so you play the level, or you do a free roam, and then you get to place cameras and choose the shot, and it's, you know, even, I mean, it's fairly rudimentary, but there's enough there to make something like watchable. There are two faults with Driver. One is I think it peaks too early. I think the first car and the first map are the best car and the best map in the game, and also the final level is an absolute shit show.
It's virtually unwinnable, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it is the antithesis of everything that makes the game good in one level. So it doesn't really work. And still the fact I have never beaten Driver, and it is still there. This is number 3 in my PlayStation 1 list of games. Would be in my top 20 games of all time easily. It's so much fun to play. And again, it's a game that's got a story you can completely ignore. Which is always good. I mean, coming all the way back to Turbo Esprit, having an open world to just bomb around in and do whatever the fuck you want, it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah, I've got very fond memories of it. I'm looking forward to going back and playing that again when we do an episode.
And we're on the home stretch.
Yep, last section, so Dreamcast / PC. Basically like late 90s, effectively.
Yeah, so this is the end of what we consider retro, isn't it? Everything up to 2000, and these are the games that are closest to the wire.
Realistically, my first one, which we already mentioned, Doom, is actually 93, so belongs back in sort of in between the 90s and the PS1 era. And my second game is Command & Conquer, which technically came out in like 94, 95. I think, but I've lumped it here because it's primarily a PC game for me. I actually had it on the PlayStation. It was the second PlayStation game I got.
Real-time strategy, am I right?
Real-time strategy, really, really good, engaging, overarching story. The most ham you've ever seen in acting, ever, in the cutscenes in between the levels on this. Really, really good fun. It peaks with Tim Curry in, I think it's Command & Conquer Red Alert. or Red Alert 2, one of those. He just plays this bizarre Russian general. They're hilarious, but the core gameplay is solid, really, really good. It's Westwood's sort of evolution of what they started with Dune 2.
Well, okay.
And they did actually go back to Dune 2. Well, Dune, sorry. They made a game called Emperor Battle for Dune, which now that I think about it, I should have put that above this, because I prefer that. But Command & Conquer does have a special place in my heart. Again, Dune 2 is the rough first draft. Command & Conquer was the polished, better product. And yeah, brilliant. Probably the best example of real-time strategy, I would say.
The only exposure of any sort I've got to Command & Conquer is reading about and seeing the video bits from Red Alert. And it's just Tim Curry, who is a friend of the show. Spoilers, Tim Curry, not a friend of the show.
Well, I don't know.
Well, maybe he
You
is.
never
Tim,
know.
if you're out there, give us a shout, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you say, giving it the full beans, not holding back at all. That really looks really good fun. It's a shame it's attached to the sort of game that I despise.
Yeah.
You can go again, mate, since you've got 4 to do. I've only got 2.
Yep. So the next game is Dreamcast exclusive. Never came out on anything else, and that's Metropolis Street Racer, which I loved. Absolutely loved that game. I was torn between this or Tokyo Highway Challenge. I went with this in the end because I thought, as great as Tokyo Highway Challenge is, it's not a great driving game. Like, the mechanics of the driving are sometimes a bit iffy.
Yeah.
Whereas Metropolis Street Racer just rewards you for driving well. It's not how fast you drive.
It's how you drive fast.
Yeah.
Tokyo Highway Challenge is definitely more RPG in structure, isn't it? You have to upgrade to do better.
Yeah.
Whereas MSR is just about driving quick and cool.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, the progenitor of the Project Gotham series,
Absolutely, yeah.
which are
And
brilliant. I've only really played a couple of them, actually.
it starts with Metropolis Street Racer and then goes to Project Gotham and then Forza Horizon are all... Actually, no, I said that out loud. I'm not sure there's any actual lineage between Project Gotham and Forza Horizon, but they are, in spirit, the very, very similar games.
Yeah.
And it all started... This starts with Metropolis Street Racer, and I'm with you, by the way. It's a phenomenal game.
It's great.
When you find a car you like and you're getting it right and you're scoring huge points and going very, very quickly, it's superb.
Also, as well, it has that awesome real-time element to it, where depending on what your clock settings are, if you play a level in London and it's the middle of the day in London, it will be sunny.
Yeah.
If you're in the middle of the day in London and you want to play a track in San Francisco, it will be 8 hours behind and like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I always thought that was really, really good. That was really, really clever.
It is really cool. It's just a nice little touch, isn't it? And then, as Dave just alluded to, all the tracks are based in real-world cities.
Oh, yeah, meticulously modelled as well, aren't they?
Yeah. No, it's a great shout, MSR. I think it was a bit of a toss-up for me. I think MSR or this next game were vying. So if we had chosen the same, this would have been another one we'd both done. But I think as much as I despise the concept of objectivity, I think objectively the worst game on this list.
Oh, okay.
But I don't believe in objectivity, so I fucking love it. Space Channel 5. A game that lives and dies on the voice and strut of its protagonist.
It is a strut as well, isn't it?
It is the queen of all struts. A rhythm action game where you play a space reporting, I was going to say woman, but she's a goddess. She is one of the greatest video game characters ever created. Ulala, who kind of broke the mainstream very briefly. I think she appeared as a video projection on a U2 gig or some nonsense like that. But yeah, it's a rhythm action game, and it's in the call and repeat style. I think it's technically a bit broken. I think every time you get it wrong, the timing goes off a little bit. There's all sorts that aren't quite right with it.
Yeah, I've always struggled with it. I've never been able to play it well.
It takes some getting used to, but it is, if you start to go wrong, it seems to make the game harder. But, and I come back to this word again, it's joyous. It's absolutely bonkers joy, silly, over the top, very Sega. And the music's phenomenal. All original music, just brilliant.
It's got like a weird 60s, swinging 60s
Yeah.
B-movie style to it, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Retro futuristic, yeah, is the vibe. I thoroughly recommend watching somebody play it on YouTube. Oh, there is a sequel as well, which I think probably works a bit better, but I can't quite get over the fact it's got Michael Jackson in it. I do not agree. So yeah, back to you, Dave. 2 more.
So when I first got my first proper PC, basically looked at what were the best games that PC Gamer had rated over the last several years, and the name Half-Life was everywhere. Brilliant game, absolutely untouched in terms of like narrative first-person shooters. I would have put Half-Life 2 here, but that's a 2004 game and outside our retro, because Half-Life is the uncut gem that Half-Life 2 is the finished product for. But no, Half-Life is fantastic. You know, the mod scene surrounding it spawned loads of different companies that are now like massive. It's the first game I ever saw anybody speed run. Okay. And when I say speedrun, I mean like the proper glitchy, fall through the map type speedrun. It's just all this random stuff where you jump through the map and skip entire sections. They've just finished the game in an hour. So I got Half-Life and all the expansions, and I think probably the next game that was sort of rated number 2 on the PC Gamer Top 100 that they used to do was Deus Ex. It's what System Shock went on to become. Your beloved phrase, the immersive sim, is perfectly applied to Deus Ex. But a brilliant game. One of those little bit sort of coming back to Tenchu in that there's an open world where you've got to do something, you've got to go in somewhere, but your approach to it is whatever you want it to be. You know, you can go in guns blazing. It won't end well, but you can do it. You can sneak through air vents. You can, you've got cybernetic implants that you can pick and choose what they variously do. Go all strength, and you can literally pick up a skip that's in your way and move it and go through a crack in a wall. Things like that. You can go completely non-lethal with all your attacks if you want. It's brilliant. Do you think you'd enjoy it, actually?
Yeah, they've always been sort of on the fringes. I think that they're kind of where the line is. I think it's something I might have a look at some point in the future. I think I might have a couple of them on PC that I've picked up.
Yeah, Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, the more recent ones they're very good, actually. I would recommend them.
They don't appall me. You know what I mean? I don't have a reaction to them. It's just they're not top of my list.
I think there is potential for you to enjoy them.
Which leaves us to the final game on the list.
Drum roll, please.
This is the only video game I have ever named a pet after, because I once had a Siamese fighting fish called Rez. I don't care if Dave's never played it. It's getting its own episode if I have to speak about it on my own for an hour and a half. It's phenomenal. It is a into the screen on rails shooter with a combo mechanic, a overarching philosophical storyline that's a bit bonkers, level design that's even more bonkers, bosses that are absolutely stunning, and to this day, for me, the best audio-visual experience that exists in video games.
High praise.
All of the sound and the music links together without ever being as obvious as rhythm action. It just pulls all the noise together in time with the music. I could play it forever and never get bored of it. I've been playing it for 20 years. It's one of those games that occasionally I'll pick up and just play it from start to finish. I've played it so often now, I go through it no problem at all, and I love every minute of it. And there are still moments of it to this day that I just make me so happy. I love it. It's a game that there is no other word for than love. I think it's a masterpiece and an immaculate piece of game design. The end. So I guess at this point we'd normally start talking about cocktails, but the cocktails that we normally choose are related to the one game that we're talking about in the episode. Obviously that's not the case. So I don't know about you, Dave, but my cocktail is sort of on the theme of the 50th episode and of basically this milestone that we have. Are you in a similar vibe?
Yeah, I kind of went for what we're doing.
Okay.
Rather than what we're specifically talking about.
Okay, cool, yeah.
You own the book 1,000 Games to Play Before You Die, don't you?
1001, but yes.
Sorry, 1001. And yeah, just in honor of that and the whole concept of making a top X amount of something,
Yeah.
I found a drink on Difford's called the Bucket List.
Ah, nice.
Which I thought was, that's quite appropriate. That sits
Yeah.
well, that sits nicely with what we're doing.
Yes.
But also, in reading up on this, it made me want to try it. It sounds quite nice. It's 30ml of Kettle One vodka, 20ml of Genepi, which I think I'm pronouncing right. It might be Genepi because it's French.
Or je ne sais.
Yeah, it's like a herbal liqueur from what I can gather. Sounds quite nice, actually. And then 15ml of lemon juice and 15ml of honey syrup.
Right.
So it all kind of hinges on what that Genepi or Genepe tastes like, because vodka's effectively flavourless. Lemon and honey is lemsip. So I'm thinking it's kind of a herbally lemsip. Heat this up. This would be a cold and flu treatment. And you get shit-faced off it.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm going for that.
So it turns out, thank you Wikipedia, that Genepi is a traditional herbal liqueur or aperitif popularised in the Alpine regions. Oh, interestingly, it is related to absinthe, which we like, but it is more herbal. A bit of chamomile notes to it apparently as well. So it sounds like very much its own thing. Green chartreuse apparently is your standard substitute for Genepi.
Yeah, see chartreuse quite often.
Yeah, I think it's probably less expensive and easier to get a hold of if you fancy giving this one a go.
Yeah, I'm curious to try it just to see what it's like. Because I find with all of these sorts of weird and wonderful liqueurs and things, you've got to give them a go.
Yeah, it's as you say, that list of ingredients is pretty much nothing, isn't it? It's There's not a lot to go on there because we don't know what Genepi tastes like. Maybe Harry from Difford can tell us. Harry, leave us a comment. Tell us what Genepi tastes like.
We should have a cocktail only episode. Where we just talk about drinks for the entire episode, then pair those drinks with one game. Do the reverse.
So I would love to say that sounds like a great cocktail, mate, but I've got no idea what that's going to taste like.
I have no frame of reference for what the flavour profile of that will be like.
But still, it's a great name. You've done very well.
Yeah.
I think I did better.
I'm sure you do.
I'm going to...
What did you go for?
Because what we're doing is a special episode. So I found a cocktail called El Especialista, which not only has the word special in it, but also the word list in it.
That's because it's Spanish for the specialist.
Yes. It's basically a riff on a daiquiri. It is 60ml of white rum, 20ml of sherry, 30ml of lime juice, 3 bar spoons of basically icing sugar, 2 dashes of Angostura bitters, and a pinch of sea salt. So it's very much a daiquiri with some sherry in it, and it just lightens it up from because the daiquiri is one of my favourite drinks. I absolutely adore a good daiquiri, and so you add the sherry to it and it just kind of lightens it up a bit. The Angostura bitters is unusual for a daiquiri as well. I've picked this because it's a good pun. It's a bilingual pun. It does exactly what I wanted to. But not to get too, soppy about things. Mr. Livio Morena at Cafe Propaganda in Rome says, a tribute to all the special people in our life, a wish for those to come, the story of a journey and what stands behind it. And here we are, mate, episode 50. Who'd have fucking thought it, right? I say I picked this for the name. I tried it and I didn't scroll down to that bit till after I'd already landed on it, and I was like, look at that. As I say, I don't want to get too soft, but I think it's great. I think that really we decided to do this podcast in a pub in London.
No, you decided to do this podcast.
I decided we were doing this podcast in a pub in London more than 2 years ago, and here we are still doing it, still loving it. And we've interviewed Mike Persane, Rico Holmes, got more interviews coming. We've made lots of friends.
To be fair though, we are the best retro games and cocktail podcast on the internet.
Here's to that.
Chin chin.
Chin chin.
Until anybody else makes another one.
What, to try and crib on our success? That'll do us. We are finally at the end of our 50th episode special, our 50 top games. All the asterisks, by the way, if you've seen the asterisks on wherever you listen to us on the thumbnail, it means basically this week. This is a list. This is a list that can change and does change constantly. So as we put it together, this was our list. Basically, this is 50 great old video games you can play. So that's what it was all about. We're at the end of it now. And next week is our Christmas special. We'll be coming out on the 23rd, just before Christmas. So yeah, looking forward to that next time on Cocktail Mode, where gaming and alcohol are in our blood.